Next up, we have Penn State UCLA recap, which, yeah, okay, let's recap this. Um, so Penn State, I thought was a legit, top three, top four, top five team. The game against Oregon was just incredible. You go into UCLA against a team that hadn't won, looked like a dumpster fire. I mean, fans weren't even showing up for the game. If you watch the highlights of this game, the stadium's like half full. I mean, it's not even, no one was there. UCLA completely dominated in the first half. I mean, at the end of the first half, it was 27-7. Embarrassing. I mean, embarrassing. I mean, I'm just being real. It's embarrassing. Penn State then tried to come back in the second half, but let's be real. That's probably, UCLA playing conservative, maybe some cover two, cover three, don't allow anything over the top. The score didn't seem that close. It didn't feel that close. It was terrible. I know some people think it's Drew Allar's fault. I get that. It all falls on the shoulders of your quarterback usually, and I understand. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 200 yards, not great. But let's look at the other side, Nico. 17-24, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. But you know where the difference was? UCLA ran for 280 yards, 52 attempts, and 3 tutties. You want to talk about controlling the game? You want to talk about having your hand on the throat of your opponent and saying, hey, this game ends when we say it does. That's how you do it. 52 rushes as a team. 280 yards, 5.4 a carry, just consistent. First down, first down, first down. Incredible. Now, Penn State rushed for 5.1 yards a carry, but only 157 yards. So UCLA really controlled, and I thought Penn State's defense would be a little better than that. I really did. When I had them as a top 5 team, a top 4 team, I thought their defense would be a little bit better. I mean, 280 yards rushing. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Maybe UCLA can now use this as some motivation. Maybe this is the win they needed to say, hey, listen, guys, we have a good team. We're not that 0-4 dog water team that the publications are saying we are. We beat Penn State. We put together some good stuff. We found some things that work. Maybe they can use that. Maybe they can kind of salvage the season. Maybe get to close to 500, something. We'll see. I don't know. But Penn State's done. They're done. They're not ranked. I'm not picking them for anything. They have some tough games coming up. I'm going to pick them to lose them all. Until they prove me otherwise. But that was embarrassing. I had Penn State minus like 25. They lost the game. Could you imagine what the money line would have been on that? Goodness gracious. Lord have mercy. Let's move on to Texas, Florida. I've had this really wishy-washy relationship with Texas throughout this year. I haven't thought they've looked very good. They were number 1 coming into the year, and I know that the beginner, preseason AP polls really don't mean squat. Yeah, well, we know that now because Penn State, we just talked about, and Texas, they're 3-2. Any team that's even okay or better that they've played, they've lost to. If it's a complete tomato can, Kennesaw State University, West Kentucky of Omaha, Nebraska, whatever, they beat those teams okay, not great, but okay. But anyone who's halfway decent, they don't play very well. And this was a game I thought they would bounce back. Florida has not looked good this year. Florida has a lot of issues. Apparently, Texas has more. Arch Manning, 16-29, 263, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. DJ Lagway outplayed him. I mean, I like DJ Lagway. Don't get me wrong. I like the guy. But he shouldn't be outplaying Arch Manning. There's too much hype behind Arch. And maybe that's what we need to accept at this point, is that the hype was overhyped. Arch Manning was overhyped coming in. He's not as good as everyone thought he was going to be. And that's fine. Sometimes people just are. He, unfortunately, has the name behind him, and so a lot of people put added pressure, which he didn't ask for. He didn't choose to be in that situation, so I understand it's not fair. But life's not fair. You're making a lot of money. That NIL money that you signed there was because of your name. So it works both ways, right? It works both ways. Rushing-wise, Arch Manning led the Texas in rushing with 37 yards. at 2.5 yards a carry. Yeah, he's the leader in both categories. All three. Attempts, yards, average. 8 rushes for 11 yards, 1.4 a carry, 2 rushes, 4 yards, 2 carries. Christian Clark, 1 rush, no yard. They averaged 2 yards a carry on the ground, Texas did. You cannot win football games if you cannot run the ball at least a little. At least a little. I mean, 3 to 4 you can get away with if you have a good passing game. But right now, Arch, more than anything, needs a good running game to help open up the passing a little bit for him. I don't say this very often because I'm kind of just an out-of-shape 32-year-old fat slob. I think I could rush for 2 yards a carry. I think if you handed me the ball and I closed my eyes and I just said a prayer to the Lord and I just ran as fast as I could and just jumped into the line, I think I might be able to average 2 yards a carry. Now, you'd have to wheel me out in an ambulance or an airlifted helicopter after I got tackled a few times, but I think I could get the 2 yards a carry. And look, I'm not trying to be that way about it. I'm not trying to be, prickly about it. It's just that's bad. You got to fix that. Figure it out. Switch some offensive linemen around, figure it out. I heard Texas's head coach say that. They need to figure that out to have a running game without, Arch being the main focus of it. I agree. A lot of work to be done. Good job, Florida. Ran the ball well, 159 yards on the ground. Texas's defense obviously is not as good as we thought it was either. When it came to rushing, Florida didn't have a long play. 16 was their longest rush, but just 4.3 yards a carry, consistent, 159 yards, 37 attempts. That'll control the game, and they did. That's why it was such a low-scoring game, 29-21, lower than some. They controlled the game really well. They played tough. Maybe Florida can use that as a building block now because they've had a rough start to the season. So maybe now they use that, they get a little better. Maybe they actually can salvage the season a little bit. We'll see. Last but not least, we have Miami going into Florida State and beating the Seminoles. Miami is my number one team for a reason. They play tough games. They've had one of the toughest schedules this year so far, playing just back-to-back-to-back teams that are all that feel either we thought were elite at the time, or even if they're not elite, they're still good. Carson Beck, 20 of 27, 241, 4 tutties, no interceptions. So efficient. Gets the job done. Miami ran for 98 yards, 3.2 a carry, and that's what we were just talking about, right? I just got done mentioning that a few minutes ago. You can run for 3.2, 3 to 4 yards a carry if you have a strong quarterback leading the team. That's what Carson Beck is. Carson Beck is a man amongst the boys. He's getting it done. Miami's defense is also playing out of their minds. Florida State has an incredible offense, and Florida State averaged 3.5 yards on the ground, which this is a great running team. Their quarterback threw for 272 with 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. They were able to get some turnovers. The University of Miami right now is the team to beat for me. It's not Ohio State. It's them. They played tough teams. They played tough games, and they find ways to win them. And every time I see Carson Beck, he just gets a little bit better. And every time he gets a little bit better, by the end of this year, he's going to be a real possibility for Heisman and a real possibility for someone who could be holding up that trophy, the Natty. It's a real possibility. They look good. I don't know who Miami has next, but I mean, it seems like their schedule's been insane this year. In fact, I wouldn't even mind seeing that. They have Louisville, so now they can Louisville's a decent team, but it's not Florida, South Florida, Notre Dame, Florida State, Actually, I'm just now looking at their schedule. Miami's already through the toughest part of their schedule. They've got Stanford, SMU, Syracuse State, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. From this point on, Miami just has to kind of keep improving and because I think they'll be undefeated at this point. I do. I'm going to call it right now. I think they're undefeated. Incredible. Great game for Miami. Florida State is still a really good team, and even though it does look like this season could be over unless they go on a really historic run, Florida State has been a laughingstock for the last couple years. I don't feel like they're that this year. They have a really good team, and even if they don't end up doing a lot this year, this is a really good building block for following years. It really is. I think Florida State's in a good spot. I like how they look this year. I'm impressed. They won against Alabama. The Virginia loss is really tough. Miami is a respectable loss. After this, they really don't play a top elite team again for the rest of the year, unless you want to consider Florida a top elite team. I don't. I consider them mid grade. You've got Stanford, Clemson, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech. They could go on a run too. They really could. I think it's going to come down to that Florida game, which will be excellent because that's the final one of the year. So that'll be a good one. All right. Well, that is all I have for today when it comes to the Mooney Talks Sports Week 6 podcast. Hope you really enjoyed this. I did. Had our top 10s. I'll be back next week for the same thing. Guys, I appreciate you so much. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy some sports. That's what it's all about, baby. I'll see you soon. Guys, I hope you liked this. Thank you so much for watching. This is just a little snippet of a full episode that's available on the YouTube channel as well, so be sure to check that out, and thank you so much for watching. We also have top 10s in quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, college teams, football teams, all kinds of good stuff. Check out the channel, and remember to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.